Hello everybody, welcome. Here we are, it's Sunday, and I don't know why, I often find myself in the studio on Sunday. Yeah, I just wanted to go on continuing what we were doing with the pestles and mortars, you remember? We haven't finished them, have we, quite? So, let's have a look. Let's get a clean board. It does help to work off clean boards. I remember when I worked at Lowdown, my dad tipped me off once because I'd made some pots, you see, and finished them, but I put them down on top of a cruddy, dirty board, you know, with lumpy bits of clay. Well, of course, I mean, it wasn't. I'm making it sound like it was something really. It was really, really dirty and really horrible. It wasn't that it was like that, but my dad was trying to make a point that, you know, when you're finishing off work and finishing off pots, once you've thumbed them off and sealed them and made them nice, you want to put them down on a clean surface so the bottom of the pot is not indented or scratched, mucked up. So, yeah. So basically I've got here these mortars that have got to be, they've got to be thumbed off. Now, if you have yourself a damp sponge, okay, wet your thumb and just break that corner. Go around like this, you see? And then you basically giving it the once over with your eye on all fronts. If it's got a nasty little scratch in it or something where you caught your fingernail, you know, well, you may need to take a sponge and just give it a little titillation there. Okay, so we put a seal on and we put him. I can hear a cat. Is that you, Sheena? Sheena? Yeah, the cat's called Sheena. Well, that one is. Da 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 da. So, oh, did I seal that one? Yeah. So I'm just going down the board here, sealing these, finishing off these mortars. Now you see how quick and easy it is, no trimming. Now I know a lot of you out there, you love trimming. You're trimming addicts, aren't you? You can't help yourself. Actually, I like trimming as well. I'll let you into a secret. No, trimming is great fun. Trimming, you know, paring away the clay but there's no point in making a mountain out of a molehill, is there? If a molehill will do, then let's make a molehill and not make a mountain. La-di-da, right. So, thumbing these guys off. You see, I can thumb them off because I finished them off properly when I threw them. Now, if I hadn't bothered to take the trouble to have finished them off when I threw them with my throwing stick. If I hadn't bothered there, I would have extra work to do now, and a lot extra work. Whereas I can now dispatch these, and they're done. Done, delivered. Signed, sealed, and delivered. So, I know I've spoken about this loads of times. But I only say so because it is important. And as much as I like trimming and using my trim tool and carving the bottom of a bowl or a plate, for something simple like a mortar like this, I don't really want to have to be bothered to do all that. Whereas my thumb will do the trick. Now, okay, so while I've got the sponge handy, this board that I took them off, I'm going to give it a clean. And I'm going to go put him back over there on yonder shelf. Yonder shelf. So, now what I want to do is go away, cat. Okay, put that there. Let's have a look. Are we in the picture? Are we in the picture? Yeah. What I want to do is move the camera just a bit in here, down on the table there, so that you can see the next part. Chair there. So now these are the pestles. The pesky pestles. Actually, I'm going to put my apron on. Where is it? Da 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 da. So, hi, good. Now, there is the pestle with its rounded top, which is going to fit in to the mortar here, be used for grinding. Somebody sent me an email today actually saying, asking me about the glazing of these pestles and mortars and how they were going to be glazed, and I said, well, they're not going to be glazed actually, because I like an external finish that is natural. They'll be sprayed with a little bit of wood ash, but the inside in the middle here and the pestle here are not glazed purposely. You don't want to glaze the inside, otherwise the seeds and things that you put in, and if everything is glazed, they're spitting out everywhere. The fact that it's unglazed, it's a tiny fraction rough, means that whatever you're compressing with this, with the pestle, it doesn't slip out, it stays there and gets crushed. So it's a little bit abrasive, which enables the, it's a mixture, it's a sort of grinding, it's not just banging, we're not pounding, it's a stirring, grinding motion, and the fact that it's unglazed actually is good. All right, so just thought I'd mention that. Right, so these little guys, what I do is I basically have a look at it to make sure that it hasn't got a point, because you do not want to have a point. It's got to be a curve. So by going like this, I then make it nice and rounded. Now the other end here, is basically different ways of finishing this off. Ideally, it wants to be slightly rounded and nice, so it's comfortable in the hand. Obviously, you don't want it to have any sharp edges. You want it to make it just a nice, so it's just comfortable in the palm of your hand there. So I've got my sponge here. Always need a sponge nearby for this finishing off manoeuvre. Alright, so that will then lie. Remember I said that the pestle lies across in the pouring lip of the mortar, like that. It just looks nice, you know, it looks like it's in its natural place, doesn't it? I think you'll agree. Okay, while we're there or here, we also want to just have a look at the inside of the mortar here, that the bowl of the mortar is not pitted or furrowed, and that it is, and just at this stage, when it's at a sort of green hard stage, you can just pass your finger over it, and it kind of closes the pores of the clay, which makes it more sealed, if you know what I mean. Persistent cat. Incidentally, when these are fired, when these are finished, when they're finished, before I use a pestle, one of these pestles and mortars, I will, after it's come out of the kiln, I will spend about 5 minutes really with nothing in the pestle and mortar, just grinding the pestle into the mortar like this, and it creates a bit of a dust initially. It's a bit like a new engine. Before it's run in, it needs to be, you know, running what they used to anyway. Car engines, we used to have to run them in, didn't we? So like for the first 1,500 miles, you weren't allowed to go, or shouldn't go over sort of 3,500 revs or something like that. Well, that was because in the initial running of the engine, with the metal brushing against the metal, there was a lot of shavings that would come off as the metal components were bedding in together, you know, and that was then went down into the sump, into the oil, and then you change the oil and you put fresh oil in after that amount of mileage. Well, this is a bit like that. I'm grinding this in a little bit into the mortar. If there are any loose little bits of dust or raised bits of particles of clay, I grind them off, you see, before I actually put food in there. and then I wash it. Not a bad idea to do that. So, again now finishing off the other end of this. I'll be honest with you, I think that there's probably a better way of doing this than what I'm doing it. I feel like that what I'm doing here on the end of the pestle is could come up with a better way of doing it, I think, really, or better way of finishing it off here on the end. Maybe I should take my seal and seal it right there on the end. Don't know. I feel like it needs maybe something. Actually, once what I did was on the shank of one of these, what did I do? I impressed it with something, so it had like a pattern, you know, something that you could sort of hold on to. All right, so there's another one. So we do want to do this business. Just roll them face down, as it were. So it's got a nice round Somebody wrote to me and said, "Oh yes, Simon, these I make lots of those, big ones and small ones, and in fact they're my best sellers, or one of my best sellers, or they sold like hot cakes, or coming up to the holiday season." If anybody is interested in buying one of these pestles and mortars when they're finished, they will be on my Etsy shop. So what else can we say about pestles and mortars? Now another thing I've done to these in the past, maybe I can demonstrate. I've got here somewhere buried deep in here. Buried deep. Hang on. I got these things. Remember we made them. I think we did them together, didn't we? Oh, that looks like it's broken off. Remember I made these little wheels which you hold in your hand like that? Remember them? This is one I made, and the bit of clay has come off. That was probably because differing hardnesses between this lump of clay and that. I probably let that get too hard when I tried to join that on. The result was, as you see. What I was going to demonstrate was, where's my banding wheel? Where's my banding wheel? Let's just bring this in here for a little detail. Down onto that, right onto that banding wheel down there, that little one. Got to get myself a better banding wheel. That's a bit of a... So, if you take one of these, okay, now you can take one of these wheels. Let's take this one for example. All right, these are just thrown discs, and this is just carved in by hand. Bits of clay added, which you spin between your fingers. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to impress this into the side at the top of the lip here. all the way around. It can add a nice touch. Okay, well I've done that. I don't know if you can see that. It looks a bit fussy. I don't know if I like it, to be honest. I don't know if I like it. Here's a different one. Let's try that one. Another one. Okay, so we're going to start here on this side. You have to press fairly hard. You don't want to let these get too hard before you do this, if you do decide to do it. Yeah, that's better. I'm sorry about the poor light. This camera, I'm back to my old camera, which is good sound but poor vision. It's okay, the vision, but it just does need a bit extra. Let me see if we can just get that right down there. Let's see if I can bring a bit of extra lighting here. Okay, maybe you can see that, maybe you can't, but it gives just a little something to a little decorative feature, a slight little bit of impressing there in the side of the mortar. And likewise you can do a similar thing on the shank of the pestle. If you want to. Yeah, so you just want to make sure these are. Let's do one more. Put those away for now. And over there. Very important, you know, I think part of good craftsmanship is finishing off your work. Sometimes I see work and I think, well, it's not very well finished off because it's all sort of tacky and, you know, it's overworked and it's thumb printed and fingerprints all over it and smeared and spat on and licked and all this. You know, it's very something to work towards is getting a nice clean look to your pots when they're finished and they're not over-touched, overworked. We tend to want to keep going over them, don't we? And it shows. We want to touch them only as much as they need to be touched and no more. Just to do what needs to be done. I'm going to think about the ends of these pestles actually. I mean, all I'm doing is just rounding them off and making them comfortable for the hand, comfortable in the hand. I'm just wondering from an aesthetic point of view whether it would be better if I could just do something with them. No doubt somebody will say, Simon, why don't you do such and such? And I should probably say, yes, what a brilliant idea. Why don't I just? So, checking the inside here. Working it a little bit with your finger just to compress the surface of the clay. Alright. And then that is laid in there. Come on, let's do one more. You don't mind long clips, do you? La la la. Dee da da. You don't want it. You don't want the top of this pointed, and you don't want it with any flat spots. All right. So you've got to work on the curve, and you roll it and rock it like this, like I'm doing, to get that effect. I can hear the clock ticking up there. It says it's 5 o'clock, just gone. But I expect the sound, the microphone is so good on this camera that it'll pick up the sound of the clock ticking. Let's see if we can hear it. I bet that comes out on the recording. Okay. Alright folks, well there we have it. I've still got some more to do, but I'll have to do that after this clip. Okay? Take it easy. Enjoy the clay and have a good day and keep practicing. See you soon. Bye bye. Dee-da. Yeah. Clay is the way.